Yo, it's been a while. Today's video is gonna be a guide about Kiske. Now, some of you already may know that I made a previous guide, particularly on Johnny, and all of the basics, all of the beginner tips and tricks that you may want to know when playing Johnny. So for today's video is gonna be on Kai. Now, I've been playing Kai for a while now, and I feel like I have a firm grasp as to how he's played and how to optimally engage in a particular scenario when you're facing a particular character in a match. Now, I'm going to review his normals, his specials, as well as his supers, and how to implement his normals in particular manners so that you will be able to optimally engage on the enemy so that they don't basically have their turn. As well as a few combos that I will say more like beginner combos, so that way you will be able to then implement the most optimal combo in the situation that you're in and deal enough damage. As well as maybe a few couple of tips to techniques to add on to the pressure onto the enemy, so that way they don't engage against you at all, or at the least apply enough pressure so that they make mistakes. Alright, now TLDR, I will say this as well. Since this guide is going to come out the next day, right around June 9th, I would say, since Strive is coming out pretty soon, like in a couple of days from now actually, Strive's gonna come out, and making this guide, in my opinion, is mostly for you guys. I'm not expecting much in terms of views or in terms of any recognition when it comes to this guide, but mostly just to help you guys out, that those that still may want to play +R, even though Strive is coming soon. So with that out of the way, let's go to the guide. One of his best normals that I find myself using a lot in situations tends to be 5 heavy. Now, the next move that I would state in this guide is also 5K. The next normal that I will say that it's imperative to use during situations is 6P. (6H). The next normal that I will say is definitely a highly used move during either a combo setup, during a finisher, is 6K. As already mentioned, he also has a particular ability that allows him to go for almost like a projectile almost in the air. It's not a special, it's physically his dust. His next move that I want to at least illustrate is his 2S. His other move that is really good for poking, not really for anything else but poking the enemy to stop them from rushing in, is Far Slash. Now I'm going to review his specials. His first special that I'm going to review right now is his Fireball. His next special, basically his Air Fireballs. He has two, coming from his Slash and from his Heavy Slash. Next special is his Charged Stun Edge. Next special that I'm gonna review is basically his Charged Stun Edge in the air. The next move that I'm going to review is gonna be Stun Dipper. The next move that I'm going to review is Greed Sever. DP. The next part of this video that I'm going to be illustrating is basically going to have to do with his Force Break moves. His Charged Stun Edge into this Force Break move. The second Force Break move that he has is basically his Severed Force Break version. His last Force Break move that he has in his kit is basically that some people may see it as like a star, like it's basically a lightning star. His next particular moves that I'm going to mention is the supers. His first super that a lot of people may know about is his Fireball super. Now your second super that you have with Kai is now I'm going to move on to his FRCable moves. Now his first FRCable move, or a move that can be FRC'd is how I say it, is his Fireball. His Fireball that I just showed just now can be FRC'd depending on the timing that the Fireball comes out. So the way I tend to do it is that by looking at the left corner of Kai's cape, before it touches his lap, his thigh basically touches his thigh, then you use the roaming cancel mechanic and then tap it to then go into FRC. That is the way you can do the FRC with the Fireball. It is very strict. Very strict. It's very difficult to pull this off. Even in matches, it's even difficult to pull this off. I barely even managed to even do the FRC Fireball on the ground because of how hard it is to do. Because during the intense moments. Of course, you can also do the FRC Fireball on both of them. Not just the slash version. You can also do it on the heavy slash version. Now his next FRC move that he can use is his air version of his Fireball. He can do both Fireballs. His slash version and his heavy slash version can be FRC'd in the air. Both of them, the timings are the same. It just depends on how well you can then time it. Now to do this particular FRC, the way I tend to figure out how to do it is that before the Fireball leaves, like let's say a couple of meters away from his body, that is the FRC point when you can then do the FRC for Kai. It is difficult, but I will say it's easier than his grounded version of his Fireball. His next FRC move that he can use is basically his Charge Stun Edge version. From his Charge Stun Edge, right before the move, let's say, comes out fully, as you can see it from the little ball, right when in this point, when you see this ball, right before it stops becoming that big ball, I was trying to say little, right when it ends around that big ball, that is when you should go for the FRC, not when it becomes like this. If it becomes like this, then you can't FRC. You got to do it right before it becomes into this arrow-like Fireball. Now he can also do an FRC from his aerial version. When you see the arrow like this is particularly the moment that you should be FRCing the move. If you do not do it at this particular moment, you won't be able to FRC the move. So it's not when the move as in a little ball, it's when it looks like this. So when it looks like this is when you immediately press the button to FRC. If it becomes bigger, you won't be able to FRC that move. Now the next move that can be FRC'd, and basically almost to the end of the FRC moves that he has, is his DP FRC. To do this particular type of FRC is as soon as you see the lightning bolt come out and you see it's about to be almost evaporated out of the air, that is when you FRC the move. When you see the lightning almost dissipating, this is your FRC point. Or if you see Kai looking like this, the way he looks, then that's your FRC point from that moment. Depending on how you have it easy, if you believe it's easier by looking at the lightning right when it's about to dissipate, or the way the body of Kai looks, that's when you can FRC his move. Now his last move that can be FRC'd is basically his Stun Dipper. Now, for this move, I will say it's a little harder for me to FRC it consecutively, or to even do it in a real match half the time. So usually you might end up getting roaming cancels instead of FRCs. But the FRC point for this one is right before he's about to swing his blade. Right when you see the blade looks like this, which is difficult to actually tell when he's about to swing his blade because of how fast the game is, but if you can somehow immediately see right when he's about to swing his blade, that is your FRC point right there. Now, that's about the majority of the moves that he tends to have to utilize in this game. He does have air normals as well, for example. The next topic that I'll also mention in this video is basically what particular combo routes you will go with Kai when you're playing as him. So I'll go from beginner, and then I'll illustrate the intermediate combos and maybe more the more advanced combos you can pull off with Kai. Now for beginner combos, I would say right when you're close up to the opponent, you will go like this. To do this, you go for kick slash into 2D for your finisher. If you want to follow up with different ways, you can go for slash heavy slash into 2D, or you want to go into punch slash heavy into 2D, or punch kick slash into 2D, or punch kick slash heavy slash into 2D. You can also go from 2P kick slash into 2D. This is basically his combo setup from then on, as a beginner. Now, if you want to follow up other strategies, basically like, for example, into a charged stun edge as a means to provide you a bit of Oki. A lot of Kais seem to do this as a means to basically stop the opponent from trying to do anything while they're getting up. So if they try doing something by pressing buttons, they can get hit by this and counter hit it. And you can follow up with other combos depending on how close you may be to then apply any other attacks. Now for more intermediate combos that I would think of is depending if you were to get close enough and then go for a DP. So basically kick slash DP or kick heavy slash DP. Or you can even go to punch slash DP, or another format you could go for instead is punch kick slash heavy slash into stun dipper. Or if you want to keep pressing punch, so basically 4 punches. You go into 4 punches on the ground, into kick, into slash, into stun dipper. They all have to be pretty close to do it, unless you will miss the last hit of stun dipper to perform it. Now, as I already mentioned, when going for the dust or going for the DP, you have a follow-up. You got 2 different follow-ups. If you ended it with slash, the enemy will then be knocked down right down to the ground, and if they're in the corner, like in the wall on the corner stage, it can be wall splatted. But if you're in the center stage, it's best to use heavy slash instead to follow up with these kinds of combos. If the enemy gets closer to you when you apply the heavy slash follow-up of DP, then you can follow up like this. You can end the combo by doing this particular move, or by either going for other strategies, but I'm not going to get deep into that. Maybe another video, or show you a lot more tips and tricks to then utilize how Kai is used, or in this case, if you want to, I'll go in deeper into the video and then show a little bit of what you can go for in terms of strategies with Kai. Now, you can also pull this off with the heavy version of DP, but there's a chance you can miss. So to perform this move in the center, you're better off doing the slash version. Now, while you're in the corner, this is where Kai usually tends to do very well in. In the corner, his damage output while he's in the corner is much higher because he has a lot of more potential to continue his combo setup. For example, as you can see, I attempted to go for a DP into slash for the wall splat. You then go for 6 heavy slash to then go for another wall splat, or more like a wall bounce, to then continue the combo. Here's one particular combo you can go for while using this particular setup. By following up with the DP into follow-up slash, which is the wall splat, you then finish it off with 6 heavy slash for the wall bounce, and then finish it off with 6k for the knockdown. You do have enough time to then apply either a charged stun edge to then apply a little bit of Oki. For example, like this. As you saw, by doing this, you basically have the entirety of your time to then apply the pressure as you've already done your combo. So regardless if the enemy stands right back up, you still have your turn. Now I'm going to go into a bit more on his one particular special that I did not mention in this video, was his lightning bolt. Now his lightning bolt is a special, but it's a special that cannot be done unless the opponent is knocked down, fully knocked down, hard knockdown in this case. That's why I didn't mention it in the very beginning of the guide, because it's best to illustrate this mostly as a means of a finisher move that can only be done on the ground. So consider it to not be a special move, but more like a unique move. To do this move, you got to fully knock down your opponent. And once they're fully knocked down, you gotta press down 3 times, or 2-2-2 as the notation goes, and then go for heavy slash. Right there I ended up failing, but if you do it again quickly enough, you can do that. So you gotta buffer the move for it to actually come out as quickly as possible without waiting for the opponent to get back up, or for you to recover fully from the 2D. Now the reason why I'm mentioning this is because once you have fully knocked down the opponent and you go for the lightning bolt, there is an FRC point onto that move. I haven't mentioned it also in the guide because I felt that this move is a little too difficult to pull off as a combo setup. So now I'm going to mention the more advanced combo setup so you can go with Kai. Now the first combo setup that a lot of Kai players tend to use if they have meter, because you can only do this if you have meter, is if you go for that's the full combo. Now to do this combo, you gotta FRC the lightning bolt. To do this, you have to then immediately FRC the move the moment the lightning bolt hits the opponent. If you do it too late, as the lightning bolt already has hit the opponent, then it won't be FRC'd. As you can see, that is the moment that you can FRC as soon as it hits the opponent. If you do it too early or do it too late, it won't FRC or proc the FRC onto the enemy. Once you have procced the FRC point of that move, immediately follow it up with close slash. Once you follow it up with that, immediately go into 2 heavy, into your particular type of DP you want to go for. In this case, I tend to go for the slash version, as it leaves the enemy higher in the air. Then follow it up with either your slash follow-up if they're in the corner, or the heavy version if they're in the center, to then go up with the wall bounce into your other particular combo styles you want to go for. In this case, I tend to follow it up and finish it up with the lightning bolt. Now in the corner, if the opponent gets wall splatted from your DP follow-up into slash and going into 6H, then you can follow up into 2H for a little bit more juggle, and then go for another DP. But the DP that you go for this time isn't the slash version, you go for the heavy version of DP. From there, you can then use either heavy slash version of the follow-up or the slash version of the follow-up to then either go for a wall splat or for a wall bounce. If it's a wall bounce, you end it with the lightning bolt. If it's not, this is the one particular type of combo you can go for. As you can see, the combo setup immediately puts the opponent into a situation where they'll still be in the corner as you follow that up. It's basically looping the DP again into another wall splat, or in this case another wall bounce, into another 6H, into 6K. And then from there you can go for whatever pressure you want to go for. If you want to go for another charge stun edge for the Oki, or if you want to go for OTG, whatever the case is, you can go for that. But at least it'll place the opponent in the corner, and it'll still be your turn right after. To do this particular combo, you need to then apply a 2D knockdown. Before they hit the ground, go for the force break of stun charge edge, for then to get the almost like a little juggle point from that point on, and then go for slash, close slash, into 2H, into whatever setup you want to go for. For example, let's do it like this. So with that, you can either end the combo with 2D, and then go for your force break move from that point on, and then immediately follow up with slash, close slash you should say, into 2H, into your DP. So if you, let's say, go for a combo setup that goes like this, then that's your combo starter. But that's if you have meter. You can also go for one that follows up with the full force break move with the super to do this. As you can see, this particular combo setup takes a little bit of practice. It has a lot of execution to do so. As you get the knockdown and then follow up into the force break move, into the super, then you have enough time to go for a close up into close slash, into 2H, into your DP, into the follow up, go for the wall splat, and then follow up into another 6H, into 6K, and then into the Yokozeme. And then you go for 3H. Now 3H also has the property of also fully crouching the opponent once they get hit by this move. So if they did not block the incoming move, they can get hit by this. It's not an overhead, but it does force the opponent into a full crouching state. Now the reason why I mentioned this move so late is because it's a move that usually I would use as a means to meter the opponent, or it's a move that I tend to use as a means to follow up into big, heavy damage, depending on how it's used. For example, like that. Now, to do this particular combo, you gotta do a little bit of micro dashing, which is a little difficult for beginners that don't have any knowledge on how to do stuff like that. So that's why I haven't mentioned it in the beginning. To do this move, you first gotta do the move itself, 3H, and then go into a quick micro dash. By that, you have to basically tap twice to do like a running state. But as you tap it to do this twice, you only dash only for a split second. Not too long, just for a split second. Can't speak words. And then go into close slash into your 6K. Sorry, not 6K. Your 6K. You go into 6K into your DP. As you can really see, it does heaps of damage when applying this, and it's best used when the opponent is about to wake up. Because no matter what they do, even if they attempt to go for a DP, to go for it's basically a full counter. So they can counter you right when they're waking up, because DP does have a slight bit of an iframe when it's used as a means to wake up from. But like I stated, if you can easily bypass this by basically going for a meaty move. Now, not every character has a move they can meaty from, so it's best to figure out the particular move that has enough lingering frames to then follow up with this. And since not every character in the game does have a DP, so then a lot of chances are you're going to do very well with Kai if you apply 3H onto the enemy. Now, as I already said, this is all the combos that I can figure out with Kai. There are a lot of other situations you can pull off too as well, like either other strategies you can go off of. For example, here's one particular way you can go for a few ways, not one, more like a few ways you can apply a bit of pressure to your enemy. One way is to either go for a punch into a grab. A lot of characters can tend to do this. It's not really a Kai thing, but the reason why this is very strong with Kai is that if you go for the grab, you can actually Roman cancel. Not every character has a Roman cancel between grabbing. Kai is one character specifically that can do this. And not only that, he also has an FRC point when grabbing an enemy. So when doing this particular move, or more like this particular type of technique, you can go for combo routes like this. Another particular way you can go about it is that, let's say if you condition the opponent into believing that you might go for a grab. For example, like this. Instead of going for this, you can go for a DP. You can go for Greed Sever. This is especially deadly when you're in the corner. As you can see, by applying this particular type of tech, by basically pressuring the enemy into believing that you might go for a grab, a lot of opponents will think that you might try to grab them, so they might end up trying to mashing you by punching you out. But if you do it like this, you will be able to then get over the punch and catch them off guard with the Grid Server overhead. Now, I did not mention any combo setups with Grid Server because I did not want you guys to utilize Grid Server as the only means of comboing, because a lot of beginner Kai players would think that, oh, since Grid Server is an easy to use special, you can go for combo routes like this, or by going for this move, you're basically giving yourself a free pass if the opponent is new as well, like yourself, and you're just gonna go for Grid Server, whatever the case is you want to go for with Kai, and believe that every opponent that you may come across will just easily get caught by Grid Server, and that's not the case. So I would usually use Grid Server as a means to apply pressure, not as a means to go for combos. If I have an opportunity to use Grid Server, I would use it. But it's not your go-to special, is what I'm trying to say. If you over rely on Greed Server, you're going to get caught in higher levels of matches where opponents will then know exactly what you're going to be going for, and if they see that you'd be throwing out Greed Server willy-nilly, then they're going to block your incoming Greed Server. Now, if they do see it coming, you can just roaming cancel and then try to catch them off guard doing that as well. But don't try and do this too many times in a match, because they're going to get a hint that you're the type of player that tends to mash out, or spam out I should say, with Greed Server. Now that's about everything that I know about Kai. There are other tricks that you can do with Kai that I have not mentioned, and I didn't want to go too deep into the video because it's already long as it is. So if you guys want any more tips, or if you just don't really want to see any more tips or want to see another video of this, because I don't really want to go make guides. I'm not a good commentator when it comes to making guides in general. I'm not really good at doing this. I've only gotten lucky with the other video that I did with Johnny, with the amount of views that I've gotten onto that particular video. But again, like I stated, Strive's coming out pretty soon, and I hardly doubt this guide will help any players that don't really care about plus R anymore. Not that I don't plan on making guides for Strive. I will probably make a few guides here and there for characters that I tend to play, for guys that really want to get into the game, because like I said, I'm not really good at making guides, but I hope that enough people will see this guide and at least help them out a little bit in plus R if they're still planning to play the game. Without further ado, I hope that this video has helped anybody out there that has helped improve your gameplay with Kai and his understanding of his gameplay.